Now we go to the state of Nevada, where we have a classroom on wheels. They were not allowed to bring props, unfortunately, but we do have Louise Helton and Vince Juaristi.
My kindergarten teacher couldn't get it right. It's been the same ever since. So it's Juaristi.
All right.
Yeah. As you said, my name is Vince Juaristi, and I'm here representing Governor Bob Miller. On my left is Louise Helton. She's a chairperson of Classroom on Wheels.
Good morning. First, we're going to discuss 4 points. We'll describe the problem of the availability of preschool in Nevada, which is very similar in other states and localities throughout the United States. Second, our novel and innovative solution. Third, we'll discuss the effectiveness of our solution. And finally, how Classroom on Wheels can be replicated in other states and localities.
So first, the problem. When all existing preschools are working at capacity in Nevada, there are still thousands of low-income children without access to early education. Even if other preschools existed, there are still the problems that low-income parents don't have transportation to preschool services. Parents don't like leaving their children in unfamiliar environments. And lastly, quite simply in Nevada, there are no facilities, and there are inadequate budgets to fund those facilities. Given these problems, our question was quite simple. How do we provide a quality preschool program for these low-income children?
So how did we answer this question? Well, what was novel and innovative about our solution? I can tell you that when I was a volunteer in my daughter's first grade classroom, this is when I came face to face with how big this problem is. And I read an article about a teacher in Tennessee who had done something I thought was fabulous. She was driving a bus into rural areas, taking education to children who lived too far from a regular school. I looked at that and turned it upside down and said, what if we did that here, but instead of going out into outlying areas, we were going into the inner cities? What if we were going to be taking the school to the children in their low-income areas? You know, the idea was worth considering. And that's when I was able to take this idea and share it with a very great lady in our state, Lillian Hickey, who's with the State Board of Education. I asked her for her help and the state's help with this, and with the backing of the Department of Education, we were able to give birth to our first cow bus. So now Nevada buys used school buses, we take out the seats, we renovate the interiors into preschool classrooms, and we drive them right into the low-income neighborhoods that we serve. We paint the buses white with black spots so they depict their acronym COW, which also gives it a lot of fun for the kids. And with each bus, we're able to serve 4 neighborhoods, 18 children each, 2.5 hours per class, and we're able to do that twice a week. We also offer bilingual services, a whole array of early learning skills, parenting classes, and a drug prevention program. We also offer health screenings as well.
Thanks to Louise and Lillian Hickey and the state government, the idea turned out to be new and exciting and innovative. But how effective was COW in educating 3- and 4-year-old children, and what does the public think about it? The COW program has already provided preschool education for over 2,000 low-income children in Nevada, and each year it serves an additional 500 children. Next year we hope to serve 600 children. The COW program conducts pre- and post-tests measuring 54 academic and social skills, from gross motor skills to social and play skills. In every case, the children have shown vast improvements academically, physically, and socially. Rock the baby, feed the baby, or change the baby has become the norm rather than hide the baby, which is a game played that mimics what happens when a drug deal is going down. The police knock at the door and the contraband is stuffed into the baby's diaper. Instead of serving make-believe beer and wine to their dinner guests, our children on the COW buses actually play tea time. During our health screenings, we identified a 4-year-old child who was thought to be mentally challenged, but he turned out to be just profoundly deaf, and nobody had ever figured that out. And our early intervention opened up a whole new world for this child. Everyone loves the COW bus program, the public, legislators, and the private sector. As a matter of fact, when the Senate Finance Committee approved funding for COW in the last legislature, the chairman required the committee to moo in unison.
And they did.
And they did. It makes marvelous political hay. Now, many legislators want a cow bus in their district. It's effective and it's non-threatening.
And the cow bus can be easily replicated. You know, with the problem that we have nationally with 40% of our children not having the benefit of preschool, this is a national problem, and cow can be a national solution. The recipe includes one new school bus, painted black and white with ongoing maintenance, a place to graze at night, staffed by a bilingual teaching staff. You blend that well, and you milk it for all it's worth. And now we're looking forward to your questions.
Good. Mayor Hatcher.
I suspect the legislators were moving because they were getting off so cheaply. I think that. How do you answer the criticism that this is too little, too late? The state should be more committed to preschool education than this program.
I don't want to let them off the hook either.
It is a very good question. In Nevada, we have perhaps a very profound problem that's associated with that, and that is our growth. Last year, the population in Nevada grew by about 9%. The year before that, it was 8%. We have a mantra in Nevada that we need one new school every month and a new classroom every day. Our education budget, just through K through 12, eats up about 58% of our state budget. We wanted to provide Head Start for every child in Nevada. We wanted to provide early education for every child in Nevada. But unfortunately, we had certain budget constraints, and so we had to do the very best that we could in order to provide that early education for those children who presently did not have it. It wasn't necessarily a question of too little, too late. It was a question of having something or having nothing. COW seemed to be a marvelous opportunity to provide them with not just something, but actually a quality preschool program. This is a program that this year is actually going to be certified by the National Association for the Education of Young Children, which is a very difficult accreditation to receive. In fact, in Nevada, there are only 2 organizations that actually have that accreditation, and we're very happy to say that COW will be one of them now. It's a high standard. The program provides high academic curriculum, social curriculum, and we're very proud of that.
Lee Shore.
I want to pursue the point of something is better than nothing on 2 counts. One is whether you are indeed able to provide some of the benefits of preschool education at the rate of 2.5-hour sessions a week, and whether how this sort of sporadic intervention assists with the people who are trying to go to work and are in fact required to go to work and have to leave their kids in childcare. You obviously can't respond to that need with the kind of schedule that you provide. And I'd like you to talk a little bit more about whether you do think, pursuing Mayor Hatcher's point, whether you do think that you're siphoning off some of the pressure to do more.
What I would look at it is that there is going to be a population that we're targeting that can't be served by anyone else. For example, there are people who will have to go back to work, but I've got children in our program who both their parents are in jail, and their invalid grandmother is the one who's left to take care of them. We are the only alternative that they have. Also, there are physical locations that you cannot start a program. We have an area called the Meadows in Las Vegas, where there is no physical place to put any other service agency for these children. By having a mobile school that just shows up, it overcomes that obstacle. There are neighborhoods there, for example, our Child Haven program, we're there 4 days a week, not just the 2. It just depends on the funding that's structured. The very minimum that our children get are 2.5 hours twice a week. But I think also when you talk about the ongoing things, with our parenting program, that's been one of the best places that you can cement what's happening with the kids, with what's going to be ongoing and what's going to be happening in their homes. And by having the parents volunteer on the Classroom on Wheels bus and also coming to the parenting classes, it makes a big difference.
Todd, did you have a question? I couldn't, yes.
I wanted to investigate the source of the innovation for just a minute. First, let me preface it by saying I celebrate citizen innovation that is then taken to government for funding. But I'm kind of trying to get at the amount of the government being the source of the innovation or not, because as I understand it, it really was a citizen-initiated activity that was taken to a government entity for implementation. Am I correct on that? And as a connected question, is Classroom on Wheels actually a separate 501c3 that is then funded by government, or is it actually a part of the Department of Education? I'm not clear on that.
The first is that the idea, I think, it was sparked in that brain, I think, right there. But it was then taken to a person, William Hickey, who's actually in the audience today, who is a member of the State Board of Education and our Department of Education, to bring the idea to fuller fruition. At that point is when the state began funding the program and actually working out the details of it. So it was a government innovation, even though a private citizen, I think, came up with the idea. We actually like when that happens, we really do. The second part of your question, what we have done is made COW a private organization unto itself, but its accountability for both funding and its reporting is done by our Department of Education. So the accountability remains in our government as part of the Department of Education, but we simply think it operates more independently and can actually attract more corporate donations when it is a private organization unto itself.
I'm sorry to extend this, but is there public money in the program?
Oh, definitely.
Okay,
The
fine.
largest funding source is all public, yeah.
Right. Okay, I'm afraid we have to end there. Louise Heltman and Vince Juaristi,
Thank you
thank